Hello everyone, welcome to our video on a topic that's both fascinating and deeply important, understanding autism in girls. Today, we're diving into the unique ways autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, presents in girls and women, why it's often missed, and how we can better support those who might be living with it. Autism is a complex developmental condition that affects how people communicate, interact, and experience the world. While it's often thought to be more common in boys, recent research shows that girls are frequently underdiagnosed due to subtle differences in how their symptoms appear. This video will take you on a journey through the signs, challenges, and strengths of autistic girls, backed by credible research and real-world insights. So buckle up, because we're about to uncover some eye-opening facts that might just change the way you see autism. Let's get started. Let's begin with a surprising truth. Autism in girls is often hidden in plain sight. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, boys are diagnosed with autism 4 times more often than girls. But does this mean autism is truly rarer in girls? Not necessarily. Experts now believe that many girls with autism go undiagnosed because their symptoms don't always match the stereotypical image of autism, which has historically been based on male presentations. Girls are more likely to engage in a behavior called masking or camouflaging, where they mimic socially acceptable behaviors to blend in. Imagine a young girl watching her peers closely, copying their smiles, gestures, or phrases to fit in at school. It's like she's playing a role in a play, but inside, she's struggling to keep up. This masking can make her challenges invisible to parents, teachers, and even doctors. Research from UCLA Health suggests that because autism research has focused heavily on boys, diagnostic tools are often tuned to male traits, leaving girls' subtler signs unnoticed. This gender bias in diagnosis means many girls don't get the support they need until much later in life, if at all. Isn't that a wake-up call? So, what does autism look like in girls? It's not always the loud, disruptive behaviors we might associate with autism in boys, like aggressive outbursts or intense, repetitive actions. Instead, girls' symptoms are often quieter, more internal. For example, a girl with autism might be extremely shy or passive, choosing to stay on the sidelines rather than risk social missteps. She might have intense, almost obsessive interests, like knowing every detail about a favorite book series, a celebrity, or even environmental causes. But these passions often align with what's considered typical for girls, so they don't raise red flags. Sensory sensitivities are another key sign. A girl might find bright lights, loud noises, or certain textures overwhelming, sometimes to the point of needing to leave a situation entirely. Imagine her covering her ears during a school assembly or refusing to wear certain clothes because they feel like sandpaper on her skin. These reactions might be dismissed as picky or sensitive, but they can be clues to autism. According to Verywell Health, girls may also struggle with non-literal thinking, taking jokes or sarcasm literally, which can lead to misunderstandings with peers. These subtle signs can slip under the radar, making early diagnosis a challenge. Can you see how easy it is to miss these clues? Now, let's talk about masking, a behavior that's especially common in autistic girls and women. Masking is like wearing an invisible costume. A girl with autism might study how others act, maybe from television shows, movies, or classmates, and then imitate those behaviors to seem normal. She might force herself to make eye contact, even though it feels uncomfortable, or memorize scripts for conversations to avoid awkward silences. This hypervigilance can be exhausting, like running a mental marathon every day. Research from the National Autistic Society highlights that masking often leads to mental fatigue, anxiety, and even depression because it's so draining to constantly hide who you are. Picture a teenage girl smiling and nodding in a group, but inside, she's overwhelmed, second-guessing every word she says. Masking can also delay diagnosis, as clinicians might not see the classic autism traits during an evaluation. The tragedy? This effort to fit in can prevent girls from getting the support they need to thrive. It's a double-edged sword. Masking helps them blend in, but at what cost? Doesn't that make you wonder how many girls are silently struggling? Social interaction is one of the core areas where autism can show up, and for girls, it's a complex picture. Unlike boys, who might show more obvious social difficulties, girls with autism often have a strong desire to connect with others. They might be part of a social group at school, but they're often following rather than leading, relying on peers to guide conversations. This can work well in childhood, but as social norms get more complicated in the teenage years, these girls may struggle to keep up. For example, they might not pick up on subtle social cues, like when a friend is upset but doesn't say so outright. According to Autism Speaks, girls with autism are more likely to internalize their struggles, showing anxiety or sadness rather than outward behaviors like anger. But here's the flip side. Many autistic girls have incredible strengths, like exceptional visual thinking or an ability to dive deeply into complex problems. Imagine a girl who can spot patterns in data that others miss, or who creates intricate artwork inspired by her favorite hobby. These strengths are part of what makes autism in girls so unique. Isn't it amazing how their challenges and gifts are so intertwined? Let's dive into another key aspect of autism in girls: sensory processing. Many autistic girls experience the world in a heightened way. Everyday sensations, like the hum of fluorescent lights, the smell of a cafeteria, or the feel of a scratchy sweater, can be overwhelming. Verywell Health notes that these sensory sensitivities can disrupt sleep or trigger intense reactions like meltdowns or self-soothing behaviors known as stimming. Stimming might look like subtle actions in girls, such as twirling hair, picking at skin, or tapping fingers, rather than the more noticeable hand flapping or rocking often seen in boys. These behaviors help regulate emotions or sensory overload, but because they're less obvious, they're often overlooked. Picture a girl quietly chewing her nails in class to cope with the chaos of a noisy room. To outsiders, she might just seem nervous, but it could be her way of managing sensory overload. Understanding these behaviors is crucial for recognizing autism in girls. Have you ever noticed these subtle signs in someone you know? Here's where things get even more complicated. Girls with autism are more likely to develop co-occurring conditions, especially if they're diagnosed later in life. Conditions like anxiety, depression, or eating disorders can overlap with autism symptoms, making diagnosis trickier. For example, a girl's intense focus on nutrition or exercise might be mistaken for an eating disorder rather than an autistic special interest. The National Autistic Society points out that girls are often misdiagnosed with mental health conditions because their autism symptoms are mistaken for something else, like shyness or social anxiety. This misdiagnosis can delay the right support, leaving girls to struggle without understanding why. Imagine being told you're just anxious when your brain processes the world in a fundamentally different way. It's heartbreaking, right? On top of that, girls with autism may face unique challenges as they grow up, like navigating romantic relationships or workplace dynamics, where their literal thinking or social difficulties can create misunderstandings. Recognizing these co-occurring conditions is key to providing holistic support. Can you see why early diagnosis is so critical? So, how do we catch autism in girls earlier? The diagnostic process isn't simple, and there's no single test for autism. According to the Mayo Clinic, diagnosis involves a combination of developmental history, behavioral observations, and assessments of social, language, and cognitive skills. For girls, this process can be trickier because their symptoms are often less obvious. A team of professionals, like a child psychologist, developmental pediatrician, or neurologist, will look for patterns, like difficulties with social communication or repetitive behaviors. But here's the catch. If a girl is masking her symptoms, she might seem fine during a short evaluation. That's why parents and caregivers play a huge role. If you notice your daughter struggles with social interactions, has intense interests, or seems overwhelmed by sensory input, don't hesitate to talk to a doctor. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends screening for autism at 18 and 24 months, but for girls, symptoms might not become clear until later, especially in adolescence. Early intervention can make a huge difference, so trust your instincts. Isn't it empowering to know you can advocate for the right support? Once a diagnosis is made, the next step is support, and this is where things get hopeful. Autistic girls can thrive with the right tools and understanding. Behavioral therapies, like applied behavior analysis, ABA, can help build social and communication skills, though some autistic advocates critique ABA for focusing too much on making autistic people seem normal. Other options, like speech therapy or occupational therapy, can address specific challenges like sensory sensitivities or language difficulties. Schools can create individualized education plans to support academic and social growth, often in smaller, less overwhelming settings. For parents, learning about autism and fostering open communication is key. Encourage your daughter to embrace her strengths, like her creativity or attention to detail, while helping her navigate challenges. Community resources, like those from Autism Speaks or the National Autistic Society, offer support groups and tools for families. Imagine a girl who feels understood and empowered to be herself. That's the goal. Doesn't that vision inspire you to learn more and spread awareness? Let's take a moment to celebrate the incredible strengths of autistic girls. While autism presents challenges, it also comes with unique gifts. Many autistic girls have an extraordinary ability to focus deeply on their passions, whether it's art, science, or social causes. Their attention to detail can lead to remarkable achievements like solving complex problems or creating intricate projects. Research from Verywell Health highlights that girls with autism often excel in visual thinking, which can make them stand out in fields like design, engineering, or research. They might have a knack for seeing the world in ways others don't, offering fresh perspectives. Picture a girl who turns her love for animals into a career as a veterinarian, or her fascination with patterns into a breakthrough in data science. These strengths aren't just quirks, they're superpowers. By focusing on what autistic girls can do, rather than what they struggle with, we can help them shine. Isn't that a perspective worth sharing? One of the biggest hurdles for autistic girls is the stereotypes that surround autism. Many people still picture autism as a male condition, with images of boys who are disruptive or obsessed with trains. But autism is a spectrum, and girls often don't fit that mold. Posts on X have highlighted how autistic girls might have interests that seem girly, like fashion or music, but pursue them with an intensity that's a hallmark of autism. Breaking these stereotypes means educating everyone, parents, teachers, doctors, and even the public, about how autism looks in girls. It's about recognizing that a quiet girl who loves reading or a teenager who seems shy might be masking significant challenges. Raising awareness can lead to earlier diagnoses, better support, and a world where autistic girls feel seen and valued. Imagine a future where no girl has to hide who she is to fit in. Doesn't that make you want to spread the word? Thank you for joining us on this journey to understand autism in girls. We've explored how their symptoms can be subtle, how masking hides their struggles, and how their strengths can light up the world. Autism in girls is often overlooked, but by learning the signs and advocating for early diagnosis, we can make a real difference. If this video opened your eyes or touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to our channel for more educational content. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going. See you in the next video.